Verlie Suggs shows up on Tuesday mornings and she brings me a hot coffee, sets it down, and we don't talk at all until the on-air light goes on. Here it is from December 9th of 2025. It's the first words we would have spoken to each other. But I thought I'm going to try to be there on time tomorrow, Verlie. So I had to tell someone, because if I tell my wife, she just laughs at me. She's like, what? You'll go whenever you get up and go.
Well, I get up to go. I get up at 4, but then my dog says, I want to go out for a little while, Mommy. So I have to go outside with him for a while and then stop for coffee. The guy in front of me in line had a huge order. And so I would have been here at 6 o'clock as well.
So what do you do? I mean, you don't walk in, do you?
What do you mean?
Into the place?
No, I go through the drive-through, but today I almost got out of the car to walk in because it was taking a long time. The guy had Illinois plates, and I'm like, what is going on? And then when I saw it going on the screen, it was like a real long scroll of things that he had purchased. So
some guy going to the construction site, or his people in his office or something.
Right.
Was it a big pickup truck?
No, not like last week where the pickup truck was actually stuck in the drive-through line with a plow on the front of it and had to end up backing up out of the line to get out of there.
How do you feel when you're coming down here on a Tuesday morning? What is your like mental state? I mean, how do you drive here? I'll just coach it a little bit. Do you drive here with, oh my God, I can't believe I get up for this and why am I doing this? Or do you come with a little bit of a secret excitement about being able to talk about things?
So I love coming to talk about things. But then in my mind, and this is usually the night before, why am I there? I mean, most of the people don't want me there. And is it worthwhile for me to be there? So I have that in my mind. But then I say, you know what? I'm not going to let people cower me into thinking that they can threaten me or say negative things and that's going to make me stop. I do it because I enjoy doing it. If I didn't do it here, I could always go back to where I was before I came here too. So it's not like I have so much in me about radio that I am stuck here at JOB. I love being here at WJOB. And I know that I can always go home to WLTH too. But I enjoy being here with you. I love doing the show with you. I love doing the show with Michelle and Adriana. And I enjoy the back and forth with the callers. I mean, I'm not here for them to have to agree with me, but they're going to hear my opinion. And they tune in evidently to hear it because they have so much to say about it the rest of the week.
That's true. You are the most often quoted person here on the station. I just wonder, and I figure, I get this from a couple other people. Like yesterday, Chuck Pullen came in yesterday, and he was all fired up about the train, and he just couldn't get train off the brain, and it's been like that for 15 years that I've known him.
I know, right?
And, that's part of the, tinfoil Chuck, you know what I mean? And some of what he was fearful of actually came true, but it just never really stops with him. And I get the feeling that with you, and this is sharing it with your husband too, and getting some insight there, that it just never stops with you. It's almost as if you are in a continuous fight of some sort, and that you have just an immense curiosity about how things are going on. And those two things come together to like you're always burning and you always know what's going on. Am I reading that correctly?
Well, yeah. I mean, I stay in tune to what's going on, but I have my own opinions about everything. And so in some cases, there's a lot of disappointment in humankind, in some of the things that are taking place and people looking the other way about it and not seeing the evil or the wrong. And I mean, I'm not the moral police or, the judger of all, because I leave that in God's hands, of course. But I just wonder what people think in their head when they agree with something that is so egregiously wrong. So that curiosity of what makes people tick and why they think the way they do and why they give this con man a pass on everything he does, even when they can see there are clear conflicts of interest, or people put in place that are totally inept at what they do, and they think it's okay, or things that are so against laws that they would be in The Hague in a court for doing so much wrong, and they don't see it. I just don't get it.
You know, I think that there is a situation here that might explain some things. The entire Indiana Senate will vote Thursday on whether to redraw the state's 9 congressional districts specifically to advantage Republican candidates in next year's U.S. House elections. The Senate Elections Committee voted 6-3 to advance, with 6 aye votes coming from Republicans, while one Republican, State Senator Greg Walker, joined the panel's 2 Democratic senators in voting nay. And I guess 4 out of 5 people that went down to testify were against this. I don't know if that's Indiana's full sentiment, but I know that there are a lot of people that are against this thing, and quite frankly, a lot for it. And one of the guys is the state senator Mike Gaskill. He insisted the redistricting vote shouldn't be viewed as a measure of loyalty to Donald Trump, even as he acknowledged his devotion to the president. That man has sacrificed an awful lot to put his business on hold and become the president, Gaskill said. That man is a patriot. He's the man for the job, and I stand with him 100%. There are a lot of people like Mike Gaskill.
What did he sacrifice? His sons are still running the business. They were running the business when he was running the business. So what has he sacrificed? They're the ones that kept it from probably going bankrupt the last time. You know, I don't get it. But that loyalist, these people need to be kneeling to a king, because they are truly what America got away from.
The new first district would contain Lake County, 5.5 townships in southern Porter County, excluding Valparaiso, and 4 townships in southern LaPorte County, and all of Stark, Marshall, Pulaski, Fulton, Cass, Miami, and Wabash counties. And if you realize it, if you look at it, it's an oddly shaped. All of northern Porter County and LaPorte would go to South Bend, and then the banana would reach all the way almost to the Ohio border. What did Mervan say about this? Now, really what they're doing is coming after Mervan's seat and Andre Carson's seat, the 2 Democrats. So instead of being 7-2 here in Indiana, I want it to be 9-0. Mervan isn't ceding anything. He said Monday, whether they do or they don't redistrict, I'm going to do everything I can to run through mountains to make sure that we create jobs and take care of those in the most vulnerable populations. And there was one, the map tears us apart. I mean, you can imagine what the Democrats said, but here's one. The mayor of Gary, Eddie Melton, said Gary is finally rising after decades of struggle. We are turning the corner with nearly 2,000 new jobs and billions in investment. We cannot afford to have our momentum halted by a map designed to dilute our voice. It pains me to see my former colleagues endure this level of threats and intimidation. We need to stand strong in Indiana, not for a political party, but for families, fairness, representation, and, of course, the democracy. Finally, Greg Walker, a Republican, said, I refuse to be intimidated. I will not let Indiana or any state be subject to the threat of violence in order to influence a legislative product. We are at the nexus of a point in history, really, and Indiana is right there. President Trump on Sunday night pulling out 9 Republicans who, quote, needed encouragement. And, of course, 2 of those had been swatted, and that is Dan Durnell and Rick Niemeyer right here in Northwest Indiana. So the national quandary comes to the region. Your thoughts, Verlie?
Well, I applaud Mayor, former Senator Eddie Melton for coming out and appealing to his fellow senators. I applaud Walker for not being intimidated. It's going to be very interesting to see if others who have had attempts at intimidation directed toward them, how they will vote. And I mean directly Highland State Senator Dan Donnell. How is he going to let that intimidation that took place with the alleged swatting affect his vote, or did he feel that this was the right thing to do from the start? We'll see. Julie Altoff, Slager, Allsworth, all the ones that we thought may possibly have some conscious thought actually caved in and voted with the rest of the Republicans in the House side to move this forward. And I don't have the faith that the senators will buck the system, buck the president, and vote what's right. I think they're going to fall in line.
Well, you and Jim Weezer. Weezer, of course, was a Democratic chairman, and we do that podcast, the Weezer podcast, and you can go listen to it, and a lot of people have. He said, don't worry about all the rhetoric. They're going to fold in the end, and they're going to succumb to Donald Trump and his pressure and the threats. And can you blame them, Verlie? Let me give you this.
Can I blame them?
Well, I mean, there is a thing called political violence right now. There is. And you have to worry about it if you're in any elected position or in any. I mean, I think that if you are look at Marjorie Taylor Greene. I listened to her last night.
On 60 Minutes Sunday night?
I mean, no, it's just,
she also did 60 Minutes Sunday night.
A print interview. And I'm like, how does this woman live under the threat of death threats on a regular basis?
Liz Cheney went through the same thing.
I mean, and she left, and she's still getting the death threats. And
former Speaker of the House who left.
And she's going, she thought it was coming, in the beginning it was coming from the left, but she goes, it's coming from the right. And presumably some of the swatting attempts and the pressure being put on Indiana legislatures is coming from the right. I could tell you this. I was trying to put myself in this position. All right, I'm a Republican legislator, and I am leaving the House to go vote on this thing, right? And I could just see my wife going, hey, listen, your family is more important than this silly little job of sitting in a chair all day listening to people blather up there. And if you're putting your family at risk by voting against Donald Trump and the entire MAGA energy, then who cares? I mean, literally, Greg Walker, give it to him, is putting himself in huge. It's a very courageous moment for one man in this committee to step out and say, I will not be intimidated by Donald Trump. And it is what it is. But if you get small kids and you got a family, I think that would be part of the decision.
When you take an oath of office to serve people, then that's what you should do, and not to serve one man. So any wife or husband who does not support what's right is wrong.
Well, what's right? Protecting your
right?
family?
No, it's not about protecting your family. If you're that much in fear, then you shouldn't be in public office.
Well, I think that's what's going to happen.
Look at Robert Kennedy. Look at John F. Kennedy. Look at Martin Luther King. Look at Malcolm X. These are people who stood for something, and they were ultimately assassinated But if you went back and asked them if they would have not done what they did, do you think they would have said, no, you know what? It was more important that I stay home and be a father. No, it was important that they do what they do for this country and for the people that they served. And definitely, I would never let anyone intimidate me into doing what's right, ever.
Verlie, that is well understood. Okay, I get that, but what I'm saying is, you're
Man up, woman
it's,
up.
It is a situation right now that, like, I had Bob Starkey in there, and obviously he kind of came out pro redistricting, and I'm like, well, what?
Based on what?
Well, he was like, well, he goes, well, I heard a sports analogy, and that changed my mind. He said something like, if you were playing a football game and you found out that the ball was deflated at halftime, wouldn't you want to address the situation and fix it?
That was so bogus. First of all, you found out. You don't think that they're checking those balls and playing football? A deflated ball, give me a break. To use that as an analogy regarding this redistricting, that is so ultimately wrong. If anyone in office thinks that this is the right thing to do, oh, there's some illegals who voted. That's why this is done? Baloney. It's done so that Donald Trump can ensure that he has enough Republicans in office that he does not lose the House in the midterm elections. In the November elections. So if you inflated football, this is lives that are at stake. This is representation that will be diluted. You only have 2 Democrats in Indiana in the House. How do you think you are that afraid of pushback because you want to stack the deck? You cheating Republicans. You can only win by cheating. How do you look in a mirror? That's the question. Not how does your wife say it? What about your family? How do you look in the mirror in the morning and say this is the right thing to do? I don't get it.
Well, I think that
punks.
I think that I've read all sorts of rationalizations, and including yesterday. And there's one part of this, I don't really respect, the kind of like just trying to justify things, but I do respect power and strength. And when people are straightforward about it, and it is one of the people here was saying, yeah, that was testifying. It was a name by the name of Mike Morris. And Mike said that it's payback for Democratic gerrymandering, and that Republicans are just going to use a majority to impeach Trump. And that's not good for the country. So because of that, we have to redistrict. Now,
all right. And do you agree? Because, if you look at the maps, first of all, when's the last time Democrats have been in control in Indiana?
I don't know, Governor Orr, maybe or by.
But having the House, because, Democrats were not in control at one time when we had a Democratic governor. So when is the last time the last maps were drawn by Republicans? They are the ones that drew the map that they are now trying to redraw. Did they get it wrong the first time? Thank you, Mark. Did they get it wrong the first time because they did it themselves? So that deflated football that this dude is talking about, he's the one that inflated it.
So
if it's deflated, it's because he didn't put enough air in it.
So I to some extent, I've read a lot of the rationalizations, because Republicans are put in a very difficult situation. Do they want to show their fealty to Donald Trump, or do they want to go with the sentiment of Indiana, which is, it seems kind of like against this? So they're put in a tough position, because if you're going to buck the president, you got some real serious challenges. Just ask Marjorie Taylor Greene. The one thing that I think is an argument that all Hoosiers can understand was this one put forward by a guy named Mike Morris of Citizens in Action. He says, I urge you not to just merely be in office, but to be in power and use that power to save our federal republic. Basically, he's being straight up about it, that this is, you're in charge, use that power. And honestly, Verlie, you could argue it about it up and down on both sides, but the Republicans are in charge in 3 areas here, that in super majority in Indiana. And at some level, if you're in charge, why should you not use your power?
But they used their power. They drew the maps. They used their power. So what they're doing now is not using their power. They're showing that they don't have a spine. That's what they're showing. It's not a power move. Give me a break. There is no power move here. All it is showing is that these are spineless people in office who can't stand up to a tyrant, dictatorial president.
All right.
They're not using power.
Is Julie Althoff spineless?
Yes.
Is Hal Slager spineless?
Yes. They're all spineless.
She's Verlie Suggs. I'm Jim Dealer. We'll be right back, and we will take your phone calls at 219-845-1100. This podcast was recorded on December 9th of 2025.